All right, so today we're diving into The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett.
Oh, yeah,
It's a classic children's book. I
absolutely,
think there's a lot to unpack here, though.
for sure.
So are you ready to step into this world of kind of mystery and transformation with me?
Yeah, The Secret Garden is more than just a tale.
Right.
It's a story of resilience and nature and how everything's connected.
Okay, so the book opens with Mary Lennox,
Yeah,
and she's a young girl living in India,
right.
but she's not exactly the picture of sweetness and light,
Right.
right?
Not at first, no. She's described as contrary and spoiled,
Yeah.
neglected by her parents, used to getting her own way.
Okay.
Even the first line of the book says, when Mary Lennox was sent to Misselthwaite Manor to live with her uncle, everybody said she was the most disagreeable-looking child ever seen.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Not exactly a warm welcome to England.
Yeah.
So what happens that sends her there?
Tragedy strikes when a cholera outbreak sweeps through her home,
Oh, wow.
leaving Mary orphaned and alone, and she's sent to live with her uncle.
Right. Her reclusive uncle, Archibald Craven, at Misselthwaite Manor
Okay.
in Yorkshire. And it's a huge, gloomy estate with 100 rooms.
Wow.
And most of them are locked up.
Okay, so we've got a spoiled girl, creaky mansion, tragic backstory.
Yeah,
Sounds like the setup for a good Gothic novel.
definitely.
So what is Misselthwaite like for her?
It's a big contrast to the sunny world she knew in India.
Right.
The manor surrounded by these wild, windswept moors,
Okay.
and the house itself is just full of secrets and shadows.
Mm.
It's almost as if the house itself is mirroring Mary's own closed-off heart.
Interesting. Okay, so let's move on to chapter 2.
Okay.
What does Mary find at Misselthwaite to spark her interest?
So Mary's curious nature starts to kind of come out
Yeah.
as she explores the estate, and she hears rumors of a secret garden
Oh.
that's been locked away for 10 years. And this sparks a sense of adventure in her, this desire to uncover the mysteries hidden within Misselthwaite's walls.
Okay, so she's got a goal now. Does she find any allies in her quest for the garden? She does. In chapter 3, she meets Dickon, who's this nature-loving boy who has a really special connection with animals. And he becomes kind of a guide for Mary.
Right.
He teaches her about the natural world and helps her understand the rhythms of the garden.
I bet he's a breath of fresh air compared to the other people at the manor.
He really is.
Yeah.
Dickon's warmth and kindness is a huge contrast to the somber atmosphere of Misselthwaite.
Yeah.
He embodies the healing power of nature and becomes a really important part of Mary's transformation.
Okay, on to chapter 4. I hear there's another important character introduced here.
That's right. Mary discovers she has a cousin,
Okay.
Colin Craven, who's hidden away in another wing of the manor.
Wow.
He's a sickly, bedridden boy convinced he's going to die young, just like his mother.
Oh, no. So we have two unhappy children, each isolated in their own way. What happens when they finally meet?
It's not exactly a friendly first encounter.
Oh.
Both Mary and Colin are used to getting their own way,
Yeah.
and their personalities clash. Colin's demanding and self-centered, while Mary's still struggling with her own selfishness.
Of course.
But there's a spark of recognition between them,
Okay.
a shared sense of loneliness that hints at a possible connection.
Interesting. Chapter 5 focuses on the secret garden itself.
Okay.
I'm curious, how is the garden described? Is it a lush paradise?
Not exactly. The garden has been neglected for 10 years, ever since Colin's mother died there.
Wow.
It's overgrown and wild, but there are hints of its former beauty.
Right.
The roses climbing the walls and the buds starting to appear on the fruit trees.
It sounds like a metaphor for the potential that lies dormant within Mary and Colin themselves.
Absolutely. The garden represents a space of healing and renewal, just waiting to be awakened.
I like that. And it's Mary who takes on the task of bringing it back to life.
Yes, with a little help from Dickon.
Chapter 6, The Robin. Tell me about the Robin. What role does he play in the story?
The robin becomes a symbol of hope and guidance for Mary.
Okay.
He leads her to the hidden key to the garden gate and keeps appearing throughout the story. Wow.
Almost as if he's watching over her progress.
It's like a little magical element woven into the story.
Yes. The Robin adds a touch of whimsy and enchantment, but he also represents the connection between humans and nature.
Okay, moving on to chapter 7. What does Mary do with the key? With the key in hand, Mary finally enters the secret garden. It's a big moment in the story.
Yeah.
It marks the beginning of her transformation.
Right.
She immediately feels a sense of peace and belonging within the garden's walls. It becomes her sanctuary,
Okay.
a place where she can be herself and connect with something larger than her own troubles.
So she's found her secret garden.
Yeah.
But what about Colin? He's still stuck in his room, convinced he's an invalid.
That's right. And in Chapter 8, their dynamic starts to shift.
Yeah, okay.
Mary, emboldened by her time in the garden, begins to challenge Colin's negativity.
Okay.
She tells him about the secret garden and tries to spark his curiosity.
Does it work? Does Colin show any interest?
He's resistant at first, but Mary's enthusiasm and the allure of the secret starts to kind of chip away at his cynicism.
Yeah.
He's intrigued by Mary's stories and begins to question his own limitations.
Sounds like Mary is becoming quite the positive influence on him.
She is.
So what happens next?
Well, that's where we'll leave it for now.
Oh.
Stay tuned for the next part of our deep dive to see how Colin reacts to the idea of the secret garden and what impact it has on his relationship with Mary.
Welcome back. So when we left off, Mary had just told Colin about the secret garden.
Right.
And he was kind of skeptical but intrigued.
Yes.
So what happens in Chapter 9? Does Colin venture out into the garden?
Not right away. Colin is still battling his fears and insecurities.
Yeah.
But Mary's stories about the garden and its magic
Right.
start to plant a seed of hope in his mind.
Okay.
He starts to think that maybe he's not as sickly and fragile as he's always believed.
It seems like Mary's belief in him is starting to make a difference.
It really is.
What about Dickon? What role does he play in this chapter?
Dickon becomes a key figure in persuading Colin to visit the garden.
Okay.
In Chapter 10, Mary and Dickon bring a nesting robin and its hatchlings into Colin's room,
Oh,
showing him the wonders of nature and the possibilities of life.
I see.
This really fuels Colin's desire to experience the garden for himself.
Ah, so they use the power of nature to kind of entice him.
Exactly.
But Colin's still quite frail, right? How did they get him to the garden?
It's a gradual process in Chapter 11. Colin starts with simply sitting in his wheelchair outside his room,
Oh.
getting some fresh air and sunshine for the first time in years.
Wow.
And gradually he ventures further, eventually making it to the secret garden with Mary and Dickon's help.
I bet that first moment in the garden was pretty magical for Colin.
It really was. In Chapter 12, the garden becomes a sanctuary for Colin,
Yeah.
just like it was for Mary.
Right.
He feels a sense of peace and belonging he's never experienced before.
Okay.
The fresh air, the sunshine, and even the act of gardening itself starts to improve his health.
The garden really is working its magic.
It is.
Does he keep his visits a secret?
For a while, yes. In Chapter 13, the children decide to keep Colin's progress a secret
All right.
from the rest of the household, especially from his father.
Okay.
They make this playful conspiracy, calling themselves the secret gardeners and hiding the evidence of Colin's newfound strength.
Sounds like they're having fun with it.
Yeah, they are.
But they can't keep it a secret forever, can they?
No, eventually the secret gets out in Chapter 14. Colin, emboldened by his progress, decides he wants to walk for the first time.
Oh.
He stands up in the garden, takes a few hesitant steps, and then he runs, feeling the wind in his hair and the strength in his legs.
What a moment.
It is.
It's like the garden literally unlocked his potential.
Yes.
How do the others react when they find out about this?
It's a mix of shock and disbelief and joy.
Yeah.
In Chapter 15, Colin's newfound mobility is revealed to everyone in the house, and they're all amazed by his transformation,
Right.
especially Ben Weatherstaff, the old gardener. He's really touched remembering Colin's mother and seeing her spirit reflected in her son.
It sounds like the garden's magic is touching everyone around them.
It is?
What about Archibald Colin's father? Does he ever come back to Misselthwaite?
Yes, he does. In
No.
Chapter 16, he gets a letter from Susan Sowerby,
Okay.
Dickon's mother, urging him to come home.
Right.
He's also been having these vivid dreams of his late wife,
Oh, wow.
calling him from the secret garden.
Interesting.
So, driven by curiosity and longing, he returns to Misselthwaite.
Okay, so we've reached a turning point.
Yes.
Archibald's back, the children are thriving in the garden, and Colin has made a miraculous recovery.
That's right.
I'm on the edge of my seat. What happens next?
Well, that's where we'll pick up in Part 3 of our deep dive.
Okay.
You'll have to stay tuned to find out what happens when Archibald discovers the secret garden and how the secret garden ends.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our journey through the secret garden. Archibald is returned to Misselthwaite, drawn by the mysterious letter and those vivid dreams of his wife.
Right.
I'm really eager to hear how it all unfolds. So where do we pick up?
Chapter 17 brings us to the climax.
Okay.
Archibald, led by some kind of inexplicable force, walks towards the secret garden.
Right.
And he's filled with this sense of anticipation, like
Yeah.
he's gonna meet his wife.
So he still thinks he might see her ghost there.
Yeah, he's drawn to the garden by grief and longing.
Right.
But what he finds is something much more real and powerful.
Okay.
As he gets closer to the door,
Yeah.
He hears laughter and running. So curious, he peeks through a gap in the ivy.
The suspense is killing me.
Yeah.
What does he see?
He sees something that changes him.
Oh, okay.
Inside the garden.
Yeah.
He finds Colin.
Right.
But not the sickly invalid he remembers.
Yeah.
But a strong, healthy boy running and laughing with Mary and Dickon.
Wow, what a sight for a grieving father. What's his reaction?
At first, he's just in shock. He
Right.
can barely recognize his son.
But then, as he watches Colin play, this wave of joy washes over him. It's a pure happiness and gratitude, a realization that life can bloom again.
That's beautiful. It's like the garden has brought a resurrection.
Yes.
Not just for the plants, but for Archibald's spirit as well.
Absolutely. The garden has become a symbol of hope and renewal for all of them.
I love that. So in chapter 18, we see Archibald and Colin finally connecting as father and son.
Yes, Colin shares his journey of healing.
Right.
His newfound strength and his love for the garden.
So the secret's finally out in the open. What happens next?
Well, in chapter 19, Archibald is just filled with remorse for neglecting Colin for so long.
Of course.
He realizes his grief blinded him to Colin's needs.
Yeah.
And that he missed out on so many years.
Right.
But Colin assures him it's not too late to start over. And they hug, marking a new beginning for their relationship.
It's a beautiful moment of reconciliation. What happens to the secret garden now that everyone knows about it?
In chapter 20, the garden isn't a secret anymore.
It becomes a place of shared joy. For the whole household, Archibald even has the locked door removed, symbolizing the opening of his own heart and letting the garden's healing power into their lives.
So the garden becomes a part of their everyday life?
Yes, and it keeps working its magic.
Okay.
In the final chapters, we see these positive changes spreading.
Yeah.
Archibald becomes more present with Colin, and their relationship grows. Mary continues to blossom.
Correct.
She finds that sense of belonging she never had in India.
Right.
And Colin, free from fear and illness, embraces life with excitement and curiosity.
It's a heartwarming ending to a truly magical story.
It is.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the secret garden, what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
I think Frances Hodgson Burnett reminds us that nature has an incredible power to heal and change us.
Yeah.
The garden shows us that everything's connected.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest times, there's always hope for renewal and growth. Sometimes all we need is a little sunshine, fresh air, and an open heart.
Beautifully said. The Secret Garden is a timeless story that offers a message of hope, resilience, and the power of love and connection.
Well, that's our deep dive into The Secret Garden. We hope you enjoyed exploring this classic tale with us.